Everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ashley, and today, in honor of the cold weather finally hitting South Carolina, I thought I'd sit down with a nice cozy cup of coffee, wearing one of my favorite cozy sweatshirts. It's my I'm with the band sweatshirt. I love it so much. I thought I would sit down and look through and share with you guys my top favorite wintertime palettes that I typically like to pull from when the weather is nice and cold like this. So I pulled all of these palettes and only one of them is new. And I did that on purpose because I feel like so much of the kind of beauty space is taken up by the idea that we have to buy new stuff, buy new stuff, buy new stuff. And I fall into that. I mean, I've just had a couple of Sephora hauls go up. I did pick up a couple of things over Thanksgiving. So I'm not trying to sit here being like, I'm cool, I don't buy new stuff. But what I am saying is that a lot of times if we sit down and look through our collection, it's nice to kind of reacquaint ourselves with some of the things that we may have kind of neglected, and it fills that kind of space inside of us that is looking for something new and different. So I don't have these in any particular order with two exceptions. The first of those exceptions for me is not necessarily a winter palette, but a New Year's Eve palette. So this is the Natasha Denona Xenon palette. And it is nothing but gray and silver and black and white. And to me, that just screams New Year's Eve. And these are not the kinds of tones that I would typically wear on a day-to-day basis. For my coloring, it's just much too harsh. So this I didn't actually purchase. It came in like a trend mood box or something, but I'm happy to have it because some of these shimmer shades are just so sparkly and amazing. So I use this as a companion palette, but I feel like for New Year's Eve, that is what this just screams to me. Now, another palette that I feel bad mentioning is this one right here. This is from Shroud Cosmetics, and I don't think Shroud is a brand anymore, but this is one of my favorite palettes of all time. This is my Moonfall palette, and look at those perfect, deep, kind of sultry, smoky, intense shades that I really tend to gravitate to, I mean, in general, but certainly in the wintertime when it's cold, I really love these really deeper, smokier, more sultry tones, and this palette is just such amazing quality. So if you have this, dig it back out because it is just, in my opinion, so good. So all of the rest are in no particular order, but you'll kind of notice a bit of a theme. And I think let's talk about what I'm wearing right now. This is my Blend Bunny Cosmetics Longing palette. And again, we have those really sort of subdued but intense and rich sort of grayed out tones. And I just think it is so versatile and lovely. Like, can you get more wintry than that? I think this is just such a beautiful and underrated palette. This released this year, and I feel like for me, it released at kind of an odd season because this just screams winter to me, but it is gorgeous. A very oldie but a goodie is from Sydney Grace. This is the Endearing Love palette. And it has a lot of those same tones, but it also has some just really beautiful, lighter, kind of softer tones that blend so well this time of year. I love this palette. Now these two, I feel like work in tandem together, especially for the winter. And they are from Huda Beauty. So we have the Rose Quartz palette and then the Pretty Grunge palette. So for the Pretty Grunge palette, I love this for the mattes. So as you can see, we have, again, those deeper, smokier tones with the purples and the silvers and the black. But sometimes I feel like the shimmers in this palette are just a little too dark for what I want on the day-to-day. And that is where the Rose Quartz palette comes in because I love pairing these kind of softer purpley shades, purpley pinky shades with those deeper mattes from the Pretty Grunge palette. And yes, I know you're probably at home going, Ashley, icy nudes. And I know, but that's exactly why I didn't pick up the icy nudes, because I feel like you can achieve that if you already own these two palettes right here. So I'm not going to spend $70 on what is arguably a gorgeous palette, but that I could likely get very, very similar looks using what I already own. And I, again, would challenge you guys to look at what it is about newer releases that has you feeling captivated, and see if you can't get that from what you already own. Now, along those same lines, from Unearthly Cosmetics, we have the Dreamer palette. We have, again, those very beautiful dusty purples, like especially this kind of quad right here. Absolutely stunning for this time of year, and it is a beautiful palette, performs absolutely stunningly. I don't know if this is still available. This was in a mystery box, I think in like February or something like that. And I can get why, because it also has those sort of Valentine's Day-esque qualities to it, but absolutely gorgeous palette. I have a couple of really big palettes in here. I have from Bella Beauty Bar. This is the Smoky Glam palette. And this is absolutely perfection. Like, look at that. Silvers and dusty, plummy purples and blacks and grays. It is everything that you need is in this palette. It has such a perfect gradient from very light shadows all the way into deep dark shadows. So you can literally create anything with this palette. I dare say you can create anything on just about any skin tone, which I feel like is very, very important. I feel like the really light shades over here might cause a little bit of ashiness on deeper skin tones, but there is still so much in this palette to work with. I think it is a fantastic buy for anybody. I absolutely adore this palette so much. Excessive. That is what this is. So this is from Beauty Bay. This is their Midnight 42 color palette. I have 4 of these sized palettes from Beauty Bay, and they're excessive. They're hard to use because they are so large, but this color story, like, come on. These purples and blues, perfect, absolutely perfect for this time of year. And I'll be honest, I don't own a ton of the blue shades, which is why I was so attracted to this particular palette, because it has everything you need for a lot of very kind of snow bunny, cold, icy blue sort of looks. I think this is just such a this is going to sound silly, a well curated palette, even though it's huge and excessive. I hope that makes sense, because you have a lot of different shades in here, but a lot of them don't overlap too much. I know it looks like this shade and this shade do, but in person, there's actually a good distinct difference between the two. And I feel like this, if you like these tones, would serve you very well. Just make sure you have a lot of space to work with when you are using it. I have 2 palettes from ABH. And yes, so this is the Fall Romance. Yes, Fall Romance. And while I do think it is fall, I think the sheer intensity of these shades are why I tend to gravitate more towards it in the winter time. Because look at how deep and stunning they are. Like, especially this brown right here. Like, so nice. Absolutely beautiful. I really enjoy this palette, and I think it is just perfect for both fall and winter. And also, of course, Sultry. You cannot get past a video talking about people's favorite winter palettes without Sultry making an appearance. Because again, these tones, they are neutral, everyday sort of shades, but because they have that beautiful depth to them, I don't know if we're focusing properly. Because they have that beautiful depth to them, they just lend themselves so well for darker, shorter days when you just want to be cozy in front of a fireplace. Like, that is what this screams to me. And I love it. I wish that ABH could come back with some of these palettes that I'm pretty sure are discontinued. I think, is Sultry? I thought they brought it back. I don't know. I'll have to double check, but gorgeous, gorgeous palette. I actually have 3 palettes from Odin's Eye, and one of them is probably going to be a surprise. So this is, let me pull it out of its cardboard sleeve. This is the Trick or Treat palette from not this most recent Halloween, but the one prior to that, I'm pretty sure. And the majority of this palette is definitely not winter. However, what I love about it for winter, yikes, try that again, are, shoot, are these shades right here. Yikes. Like this red with sparkles, kind of a burgundy red, and then the burgundy next to it, you have a light iridescent blue. You've got deeper kind of mossy green colors. Like this to me, like without all of this other stuff here, like that says Christmas. I mean, without the, you know, neon green. But I think that this has some good overlap, and I love it for that reason. I do also have the Jewels and Gem palette. Again, it has those really muted types of shades in it with blues and purples, but you have lighter shimmers along with the darker shimmers, and I just feel like it works really, really well for this time of year. I mean, even this sort of like grungy gold shade here on the end is so, so nice. I really enjoyed this release, and the other release is obvious, like obvious. This is the Christmas Eve palette. I purchased this not last Christmas, but the Christmas before when it originally launched. I got this one and the Merry Christmas palette, which I thought about, but it's for me. I don't personally wear a ton of reds, which is why I like the more burgundy shades in the Trick or Treat palette. But of course, we have the blues and the purples and the silvers, and this is just a very iconically winter palette, since obviously that was the theme there. Such a lovely palette and such a beautiful formula. I know that I've heard Odin's Eye formula may have changed a bit. I watch a lot of Annette's Beauty Corner. I haven't purchased anything from them this year that I can recall, so I can't say one way or the other, but the palettes that I have, I really do enjoy the formula. Like, they really hit that sweet spot, I think, with this release and some more kind of around that time period. And I would urge you to revisit those palettes if you have them. And then the last, number 15 that I have here is the newest palette to my collection. And it is the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes Moonlight palette. And it is exactly what I've been saying. It's got those cooler neutral tones, but then you also have the grays and the pop of blue, and it all just works so well together. It is a fabulously curated collection of tones. They are a softer, less pigmented formula, so you can really build them to your preferred intensity. And the shimmers, oh, they are such glittery, ethereal goodness, but you can build them up to be really impactful and intense. Like, such a lovely palette. If you can still pick it up and you are interested in it, I would totally recommend it, because I have a feeling that this one is going to stay discontinued. And I think it's a really good high quality palette. So those are the 15 palettes that I'm going to be playing with the most until spring hits, and I would love to know, of these palettes, which ones do you have, and are you going to be pulling them out? And I would also love to know, what is your favorite winter time palette and the types of shades and textures that you gravitate towards? I would love to hear your perspective. So if you have made it this far in the video, thank you so much. I love and appreciate all of you. I hope that you are having an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye.